I've been a teacher, captain of my hockey team, a professional pool player, an astronomer, a student researcher, a straight A student, a vegan, a recovering kleptomaniac, a medical student, and a patient staring death in the eyes. Now, these are roles that I've held in my own life and also those on stage. And I bet you're wondering which is which. I'll give you a hint. I'm not a recovering kleptomaniac. But in all seriousness, the point isn't whether or not these roles have been in the real life or in the pretend world. The point is the perspective that these roles have offered me. As a patron of the arts and a student of science, I have lived in two worlds and delved into the powers of my left and right brain. Studying as an actress has enabled me to recognize the idiosyncrasies that shape a person's behavior that may not be so visible to the audience. The goal of an authentic performance is to enrapture the audience and extend reality to what is being performed on stage. This is accomplished through actors being so present and focused in the moment that they are able to take, receive, process information, and put forth an outcome that matches the energy and the motives of their characters and their castmates' characters. Even though the script is memorized and everyone knows what line is coming next, the best performances stem from an ability to be authentic, to keep the emotions fresh by reacting in real time. Now, this applies to life, as basically every social interaction is set up like a scene in a movie. So let's say that you're at a party with this person, we'll call them person A, and you're having a laugh and you feel like you are just killing this conversation. But this is person A's body language. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course, yeah, okay. Damn, that's crazy. Actually, I have to go. Now, from an outside perspective, an audience watching that interaction between you and person A probably feels this viscerally uncomfortable reaction of secondhand embarrassment, as you are all probably feeling right now. But why is that? Person A didn't actually say anything that they didn't want to be there, but their body language conveyed an emotion that they weren't really comfortable with being there. So you're feeling fine during the party, but when you go home, you start your over-analyzing process, as we all do. And you start thinking, oh my God, they really didn't like me. Why was I so awkward? My hands were sweating. Why were they sweating? They're still sweating. Did I have to show them that Pinterest board of Pedro Pascal? But why do you feel this way? I mean, person A didn't say anything disrespectful or do anything overtly rude, but their body language conveyed a subconscious emotion which you internalized and it stuck with you. Being conscientious of your body and its movements in space is quintessential for good communication and opening a forum for vulnerability between two people. This is important whether or not you're asking somebody out on a date, trying to strike a business deal, or even just trying to impress at a job interview. But it's especially important in medicine. In medical school, we have these things called standardized patient actors, or SPs. And now these standardized patient actors help us with our physical exam skills and our interview skills, so that way, once we get to third year, we're ready to interact with real patients in our clinical rotations. You know, these SPs offer us feedback after every session, whether or not it's from our demeanor, to our rapport, to our ability even to perform these exam skills. One of my colleagues was talking to me, saying that she kept getting the same feedback from every single SP encounter, and she couldn't understand why. They kept telling her she was anxious. She didn't feel anxious. She understood the material, and she knew how to perform the exams, yet that is what she kept being told. In discussing this with her further, we realized a lot of her motions were at straight lines and at right angles. What do I mean by that? If you walk towards someone in a straight line like this, it's aggressive. You're a little step back, like, oh, that was a lot. If you walk to them that same way, but it's a little bit more slowed down and withdrawn, it's anxious. That's the emotion that you're conveying to that person. Versus if you walk in more of a circular motion, even just a slight sway from side to side, there's an area of confidence within yourself as you move your body. Something even as simple as taking off your stethoscope. If you take it off at a right angle and pull down, it's aggressive and assertive, versus if it's a slight rotation of your wrist. Rotation of your joints conveys an area of comfort and trust within your own self, versus moving on straight planes at right angles, which show distrust in yourself. And your patient can pick on those subconsciously. So after discussing this with her, she incorporated it and has had much more pleasant feedbacks from her SPs. Acting has provided a level of this interpretation of people's body movements that I feel that all forms of art have to offer. Now, my love of theater and medicine didn't emerge from thin air. It didn't come from a deep desire to be on Grey's Anatomy. Shonda Rhimes, if you're watching, please cast me. But it actually came from being the patient myself. When I was 16, I went through an 8-month period of paralyzing, debilitating migraines and body aches. I was rushed from specialist to specialist, from hospitalist to neurologist, who all told me the same thing. We're not sure what you have. As someone who had built their life around academic achievement to become a surgeon and sports to become a college athlete, this news was devastating. My identity was ripped away from me as the pain decreased my normal function to basically nothing. I saw my body wither away in the mirror each day, and I saw this stress on my family's face as we searched for a treatment, and I clung to a life that didn't feel worth living. It was in and out of hospitals and doctor's appointments that I realized that my life could dissipate instantly. It wasn't until many months after the initial onset of migraines that I was finally diagnosed with neurological Lyme's disease. Now, for my fellow medical students in the room, I bet you're all thinking, oh, Lyme disease, I got this one. You present to the clinic with a bullseye rash, we order a Lyme's test, it's positive, pump you full of doxycycline, send you off, and just pray you don't get reactive arthritis. But I didn't present with a bullseye rash, and my Lyme's test was negative. It took someone with a holistic approach to deep dive into the literature and analyze me from every angle in order to diagnose me. My experience with the physician who cured me unveiled a marriage between artistic tendencies and scientific ones. She was a music major in college. Music training requires attention to detail and severe focus, as it's the translation of a visual medium to a kinesthetic medium, to an auditory medium. Her ability to see fine details allowed her to see something in me that everybody else had missed. She also had an air about her that made me feel so comfortable that I was able to articulate my pain origins and story in a way I never had before. She made me feel heard, seen, unrushed, and understood. I wasn't a burden or another patient off the checklist to her. I was someone worth seeing, worth healing, who had humanity and a true story. Her care changed the course of my life and inspired me to pick up everything once again and try to become a physician. She also inspired me to study art and theater as a way to understand perspectives in humanity, as well as suffering. Now, while it may seem simple and glamorous that I went through Lyme treatment, studied theater, and became super introspective and good at body movement and all that stuff, that was not the case. I was resentful, and I struggled through treatment, often feeling like I was suffering more than those around me, and I didn't understand what I had done wrong to be dealt the hand I had. I was angry and closed off from the world around me. It wasn't until I went to college I started studying plays like Oedipus Rex, An Enemy of the People, and The Children's Hour, whose characters were so complex, choosing from right and wrong, that I was able to embody. that I changed the way I viewed everyone around me. I was fascinated by the kinesthetic nature of theater and the ability to use subconscious emotion and body language to portray that as a way to understand perspectives of the world. As someone who aspires to be a surgeon, I aim to make someone as comfortable with me as possible through these techniques, as no one is more vulnerable than when they are naked, unconscious, on a bed, about to be cut open with their life in the hands of basically a stranger. I aim to understand the privilege I will have in holding someone's personhood and use these skills I have learned in order to open a forum of comfort and vulnerability with my patients. The expressive and compassionate nature of art merges harmoniously with the drive of understanding the world around us that scientists have. Science describes the causes of the world around us. Art allows the expression of oneself in the world around us. And I believe that physicians blend the two in order to heal the world around us. Now I will give you one final story of how being a patient and an actress has shaped my life and impacted the way that I will proceed with patient care in the future. When I was in college, I was working as a nursing assistant at the height of the COVID-19 pandemic. When I entered the room of a man on the neurotrauma unit on comfort care, I was told by the nurses that he was unresponsive, but nevertheless, when I went in his room to clothe, bathe him, and change his sheets, I told him about my day and everything I did. And as I turned to leave the room, he grabbed my hand, brought it to his mouth, kissed it, and placed it on his chest. And we sat there in comforting silence until he fell asleep. Many weeks later, I was placed to sit with a patient diagnosed with COVID-19 who was in his final hours. As I entered the room, I realized it was the same man who had held my hand weeks before. When I walked in and sat down, I turned on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and I sang "It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood" to him as he slowly passed away. I felt truly infinite as the ephemeral nature of the world passed away, and it was him and I in the present moment. But I also felt helpless. Helpless in the fact that the sciences would be of no use to him in these last moments. It was then I was truly grateful for my theatrical background, as the only thing I could do for him was hold his hand, sing to him, see his humanity, and realize that he had a story to tell. This experience further solidified that I will become a physician who strives to heal all through the science and art of medicine. Thank you.